Hey y'all, welcome back. As you can see, I'm on the couch yet again today. It's a comfortable spot and I have a little bit of time before my friend comes over today, so I figured what a great place to be. And it also helps because since I'm with dogs, and as you saw Jack in the beginning, it keeps the cats away. So they're at least not trying to knock over my camera and stuff. But it also means I also have to hold my phone. Because, well, I was actually just too lazy to go grab the selfie stick. But whatever. So today is vlog number 5. Right? Yeah, vlog number 5. It'll be about 4th grade, but I do have an update. There's a couple things I missed in 3rd grade. And these are actually just conversations my mom and I used to have. And why, I don't know. But one thing, like, my mom had always, like, for whatever reason, like, we talked about having kids. I had always said I would have a boy and a girl. And I started saying that in 3rd grade. I also said I didn't want kids at the same time, so it was weird. And my mom always told me, no, you want a girl and then a boy, like how I had you and Travis. And I said, no, I will have a boy and a girl. Stay tuned for the rest of that story, because dun dun dun, I wasn't wrong. And then another thing was that mom always mentioned was she said that my brother was always a leader and I was a follower. And I kept trying to tell her that she had it backwards. Although my brother was fantastic at being the center of attention, because he did. He was a wild guy, so. But, I mean, I guess in a way he was a leader to some point. I know, like, as we grew older and we obviously didn't live together our whole lives, I just felt he was more of a follower than me. Like, he did whatever he needed to be cool, and I didn't care. And I was definitely more of a leader because I demanded to be leader. It's something that's never really changed, but, you know, those are just a couple things that had started to be noticed in myself in 3rd grade. And these are the things that'll come up later in life, throughout my life. But then for 4th grade, so we were living in northern Wisconsin, and like I said, my mom met my sister's dad, which obviously my sister wasn't happening yet, but and so we ended up moving from the northern part of the state down towards the mid-southern part of the state. We had actually moved twice in that year, well, I guess 3 times technically, but because of course we moved in between the summer, between 3rd and 4th grade. Actually, I think Mom had moved while I was at my dad's for summer. I think that's how that happened, because I remember then going back to Mom's, and it wasn't back to the trailer park we had lived. It was, was it a duplex or apartment or a small house? I don't remember, because we didn't live in that place very long. It was kind of a cool place, because it was right across the street from the Fox River. And if you know anything about the Wisconsin, the Fox River is a pretty big river. And where we lived, it was a wide portion of the river. So it was cool because we, you know, of course, little kids would go along the river and walk, but we'd have to cross a main road. So we didn't live there for very long. But the school I had started in, we did stay in that school district. So for 4th grade, even though we moved a couple times, I was in the one school. We moved out to a farmhouse out in the country, and then I forgot to mention at some point along the line, my grandma Snyder had eventually got another dog named Keisha. Yeah, so it was Keisha number 2, who was also a Sheltie. And while we were living at the farmhouse, we ended up getting a puppy from Keisha that we named Katie. And then this is where we also had gotten a cat named Ashes. Um, those two were little stinkers. Katie loved coffee. For the longest time, Mom would blame us for drinking her coffee, and it wasn't us. It was the dog, actually. We got in so much trouble for this dog drinking her coffee. And then that's always so funny too, because we had also as kids, you know, wintertime in Wisconsin, you're gonna have a bunch of snow. We had built a snowman, and of course we spray painted it orange because it was during hunting season. We didn't want our snowman getting shot. We were kids. And then and then we made a giant snow dog and snow cat. And in this big farmhouse, we had a huge picture window that our couch sat up against. And when you open up the curtains, you could see the snow dog and snow cat. And our dog did not like it. So every time we opened the curtains, she'd start freaking out. Oh. And then we had another time where before we, well, Katie, I don't know if they ever got Katie fixed, but she had gone into heat, and our neighbor about a half mile down the road from us had a Great Dane that was male and wasn't fixed. And so when Katie went into heat, there was one time Mom had went to open up the window, and of course below this picture window was actually a doorway for the basement, so you could access it from outside as well. And this Great Dane was standing on the doors looking into the window. So when Mom opened the curtain, it scared the crap out of her because there was this big dog at the window, just because he wanted to get in by Katie. This was the year because for up to this point, I had actually been a fairly skinny kid. I was kind of a twig. I was tall for my age. In fact, in 4th grade, I remember starting the year being like one of the taller kids. I was even taller than a lot of the boys in my class. But then I had kind of pudged out a little bit. And then I was in the beginning stages of puberty, obviously. But, and then one other thing. Oh, this is where I also started to hate my name. And the reason why is because I had started to hear a few kids who had pets named Tasha. And I was like, are you kidding me? I don't hate my name now, but there's a lot of people who name their pets Tasha. And I know this from personal experience later in life, owning a dog named Tasha. Dagnabbit. But I also had a friend that I hung out with. We were in different classes in school, but we rode the bus together. And she was, I don't know, we were kind of the nerdy kids. Like, we didn't have a lot of friends. But I remember her getting really sick, though. That wasn't until 5th grade, so I'm going to I'll get to that in a few moments, because some of 4th grade does seep into 5th grade, for the sole fact that we started 5th grade at that house, or I started 5th grade in that house, not we, because my brother was obviously younger. And then moved that year. And then we also had a couple friends that lived up the hill, a couple boys that we would hang out with, and we'd sometimes go ride our bikes up and hang out with over there. And the farm, because the farm was actually split in two by the road. So the main house was on one side, and then the actual barn and all the buildings for the farm were on the other. Which the landlord, I do believe, used that. It was rented out. I mean, the fields were already used, and we weren't allowed to really go over there. I mean, we did go play over there a few times, but we didn't go any buildings or anything like that. What else happened there? Oh yeah, so because I started puberty, here's where it really sucked. I didn't get my period yet. That's a year later. But I developed boobs. So I started school kind of where I was, well, I didn't start school, but I had, in the middle school, somewhere along the line, started getting chunky. And then when I started thinning out, I started growing boobs. And I grew boobs rapidly. And here's why it really sucks. So not only was I really tall, none of the other girls in class were growing boobs at all. And it didn't help that our teacher had no boobs. She was like an A cup. And the reason why I say that did not help was because by the end of 4th grade, I was a B cup. So I got picked on a lot for stuffing my bra. I hated it. Hated it. I wore the baggiest shirts I could find because I did. I got picked on. Like, all the boys picked on me. The girls, like, a lot of the, like, especially the popular girls that were whatever, they hated me. All because I had developed boobs. It was also really weird because for like a week there, I had weird sickness. And when I say weird, it was because in the morning I would wake up and I was fine. I got ready for school, whatever, went to school, and by second or third period, I would go to the nurse's office and have a fever of 104. And I'm not kidding, it was like 103, 104. So I'd always, because my temperature was so high, I'd have to go home. So Mom would come get me. And at this time, she was actually working as well, I believe. Or was she pregnant with Kayla? She might have been pregnant with Kayla and wasn't working yet. But anyway, she'd come get me from school. And then I would take a children's Tylenol, go upstairs, and I either was able to get changed into my pajamas, or I'd be mid-changing into pajamas, and I'd pass out on my bed, and I'd sleep for a few hours, and then by the time school was out and Trav would be coming home from school on the bus, I would feel fine, I wouldn't have a fever anymore, and I got picked on a lot, too, because people said I was faking it. But I wasn't. I legitimately came home every day because I had a temperature of 104. I don't know. I didn't really get sick after that. Although my mom did say that when I was a baby and I was teething, it wasn't uncommon for me to have an ice bath because I would run temperatures of 103, 104 when I was teething. And that's been the case ever since. Whenever I get a fever, it usually gets like right up there. And then, of course, obviously I mentioned Kayla. My mom gets pregnant with her and has my sister on Thanksgiving. I do recall that. It was Thanksgiving. And she was a small baby. And then she was also a colic baby. And so I remember at first, like, when Mom was pregnant, I was kind of, like, excited to have another little baby sister coming. And so then I started to want to play with dolls and kind of be girly. And then Kayla was born. And then I wanted nothing, nothing to do with that. Because she cried all the time. Of course, because she's colic. I apologize for the camera. My fingers are getting sore. So that was the start of that. With Kayla. She was born there. And then, so 5th grade, we start at that same place. And when I started school, okay, so this is where it sucked because, remember, I was the tallest kid in 4th grade in my class. In 5th grade, everybody outgrew me because I stopped growing. But my boobs didn't. I was getting, I think it was, my boobs didn't get much bigger. They kind of filled out and I had thinned out more, so my boobs were definitely more noticeable. So yeah, and then all the boys who didn't like me in 4th grade suddenly liked me, which made the girls hate me even more. And then 5th grade here, we had DARE. It's my first DARE class. And the reason that's so important was because of DARE, and we learned about don't take drugs, but they also talked about sexual abuse. It was the first time I had ever realized that what had happened to me in kindergarten, and before kindergarten, obviously the one time, but the multiple times in kindergarten from a family member, I was molested. And I remember, because I had a desk closer towards the back of the room, and I don't think anyone was watching, because when we were talking about that, and I was kind of in the corner, I remember, like, I just, like, I felt like I went pale as a ghost. My jaw, like, hit my desk. Not literally, but, like, I just... and I didn't know what to think or feel, and I just, in that moment, I felt very overwhelmed. I didn't know how to process what I had just realized, you know, that I had been sexually assaulted multiple times as a kid, and it was not okay. And that was my first time ever realizing, even though I had felt it was wrong, confirming it was actually wrong, because we never spoke about anything. So that's where that was important. One long after that, Mom and Kirk split up, and then we ended up moving back in with Grandma and Grandpa up north. And then Kirk kept Katie, and Mom found a new home for Ashes. And then there's other stories, but I think I'm going to save it for tomorrow's video. Because was it? I want to say in between, yeah, 4th and 5th grade. My brother's dad had contacted my dad, and during the summer, I actually went down to spend some time with my brother in Indiana, and then he came up and spent time with me in Wisconsin at my dad's house that summer. And I'll get into that story in tomorrow's video, because that's kind of the summer in between, and it has nothing to do with the house with today's story. Except for, oh yeah, that's right, I forgot one more important thing. So my brother's dad, Tim, had met Sarah, who happened to get pregnant just before Mom, and they named her Kayleen, and my sister's Kayla, and they're 6 months apart, roughly. So that was kind of interesting. So my brother had 2 younger sisters, one Kayleen, one Kayla, but just an odd thing. It didn't really make any major significance, as you'll find in the next couple of stories. And since my friend will be here shortly, I want to do a couple more things before she gets here. I'm going to end the story here, because I don't want to get emotional either, because the next story I may or may not get emotional. I don't know. But till then, see y'all tomorrow.